All right, we're doing The Last of Us season 2 predictions with guest Michael Schumer. So big spoiler warning for anyone who doesn't want to know season 2 because we both played the games. So all of our predictions will be based off the games and the season will be based off the games for as far as we know. So yeah, spoiler warning for all of you. Cue the music. Welcome to Don't Evolve Me, the place like Ash catching Pikachu. We don't evolve, we just level up. Michael, hello.
Hello.
What type of voice is that? Is that a British accent?
It was attempting to be yes. I don't know what the fuck it is right now. Yeah, what's up, everybody? Oh man, there we go. Jake and Knots, and we're less than 2 minutes into this bitch. I got this.
God.
I got the magic touch.
We're talking The Last of Us, and you're going British accent. It has nothing to do with The Last of Us. But all right then.
Hey,
Hello,
Bella
welcome.
Ramsey's from the UK.
That's but pretty much the only connection I can think of. I will say when
Works.
Bella
America started off as a colony of the UK.
Okay, you're going too far here. I will say when Bella Ramsey speaks about Last of Us and she's just in her full natural accent, I'm just like, oh, it's so hard to like imagine. Because I'm imagining like Ellie, because like she plays Ellie so well, and so like I'm just like when she's on screen talking about Last of Us, I'm expecting Ellie's voice. I'm expecting that Ashley Johnson like impersonation that. Not that she's impersonating, but like she's definitely has her Ellie voice, and then she's just like all British.
Yeah, she drops that pretense pretty quickly as soon as it's not the filming. But I know exactly what you mean. You're like, oh shit, that's right. You're not actually American.
I will say I'm watching going back to Game of Thrones, and so watching her performance as Lady Mormont is a wonderful treat. Watching her performance and then watching her as Ellie, that is a treat to like see how vastly different those two characters are. She's such a great actress.
And yet not that different. And yet not that I feel like the Lady Mormont and Ellie Williams would like totally hit it off.
Oh, I think
in
they
terms
would.
of badass like young girls that don't give no shits, I think they would be BFFs.
I could see that, but they're two different characters.
That's true.
Like, they're not the same character.
No, they're not. I'm just saying similar personality. Like they're not the same character. One's in a fantasy world. Yeah, that feistiness. The I don't give a fuck.
All right, so should we get into Last of Us season 2 predictions?
We
All
will.
Right, do you want to give the warning, or should I?
I was just gonna ask if I could. So yeah, guys, we're gonna dig right into The Last of Us Part 2 today. I'm doing hand motions even though you can't see them. So just imagine an overweight white guy, putting two peace signs in the air. Anyways, but we're talking about The Last of Us Part 2 today. We are going to be getting into some pretty heavy spoilers, so if you haven't played the games or you want to remain blind for Season 2, you might want to opt out of this episode. We would still ask you give us a like and a follow for some future content with my man Jake here. He's the OG.
I'm giving a thumbs up even though you can't see it.
But yeah, we're going to dig into the games, what we think Season 2 might be, or potentially other seasons as well. And yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. If you are a fan of the games or you just don't care and you want to be spoiled, well, welcome here.
We decided beforehand that there's no way we can talk season 2 predictions without talking about part 2 of the game, and if we're pretty sure they're going to follow at least half the story, if not the entire story of part 2, which pretty much means that we're spoiling season 2 and 3 and possibly 4. So just spoiler warning. If you guys want to stick around, awesome. If not, check out the other pod episodes.
Yep.
Anyway, let's get into it.
Indeed, let's.
All right, so my first question for you that I have.
All right, hit me.
Do you think that Last of Us Season 2, 3, and maybe 4, basically whatever they're following for Part 2, do you think they're going to tell the same exact story, or do you think they're going to switch up the narrative?
We might have to get into more specifics, but if I think I understand what you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be the same story. They might change some pacing or the way things play out in certain orders, but I think it'll still be the same story. I mean, well, I guess can you specify what you mean?
Yeah. So like, all right. So season one of The Last of Us pretty much told like they changed up the narrative a little bit, but like beat for beat, like theme wise, the story was practically the same, right?
Yep.
Like you could say like, oh well, Bill's story's different, but like thematically wise, it did the same thing. Kansas City, Pittsburgh, they switched up those storylines, but thematically it was the same thing. It was the same order. So my question is season two gonna follow part two's order of things, or do you think
No,
narratively, or do you think they're
absolutely
gonna
not.
switch up the narrative?
I don't think, I don't think they can, and I don't think HBO would let them. Uh, for two
I don't.
reasons. I would
I
love to see it play out. Okay, well, go ahead. You go ahead. You say your part.
okay. I I was actually just gonna let you go ahead, so I like my mind just dropped it in that moment. I'll let you finish. I'm sorry for interrupting.
So let's dig into the part two plot structure. Once again, I would like to reiterate to anybody listening right now: if you do not want spoilers, please exit the pod. Exit to your left. Say goodbye to our plane steward, Mr. Jake Sherbing, on your way out. And please feel free to collect your Don't Evolve Me complimentary mint as you exit. Thank you for listening.
The funny
Anyways,
thing is, I have mints.
that's awesome. So, structure part two. Let's go through it. If you're going in exact or
wait. Can I say the spoiler?
yes.
Can I just shout it? All right, you
Well,
guys have 5 seconds.
wait. You'll know when. I'll give you like I'll clap my hands when we're ready for you to scream the spoiler.
Okay.
Okay. So part one, you get kind of like the prologue with Ellie exploring Jackson, kind of getting to see where her life's at, and then the epilogue of The Last of Us Part Two or Part One, which also backtracking. We talked about this on a previous pod. My theory actually was going to be that they might end season one of The Last of Us with the opening of season two. Obviously, that did not take place.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of just there was something that happened that I was like, oh shit, I think that's what they're gonna do, and then they didn't. They actually kept through to the ending, which I think is better and a lot less optimistic. So, anyways, so you get to see Ellie's like epilogue. You gotta get to explore the town, kind of see where these new characters are at, and then you have
Joel dies.
yes, okay, there we go. So yes, Joel. We'd have Joel's death. And then her going to Seattle. So that's
you did miss a lot of it though.
Well, that's just the epilogue. Like I'm not going through bullet point. I'm just going to hit you with general arcs here. And then you have Seattle, day one,
Well,
2, 3 for
you also
Ellie.
play as a new character. They introduce a really big character. You have no idea why you're playing her.
Wait, I thought we were just digging balls deep into the spoilers. We can just say who it is.
Oh yeah, they introduce Abby, and Abby kills Joel, and you don't know why you're playing Abby at first, and you're like, "Oh, she's a nice person," and then she kills your,
your
kills
daddy.
Joel.
She kills daddy.
She kills your character. She kills essentially she kills you because like
God,
you
that's
are
kind of
Joel in the
meta
first
for a
game.
video game. That is really meta for a video game when you put it like that. But yeah, so you have the hunt for Abby as Ellie those 3 days, and then you would have in between those 3 days you have flashback after flashback after flashback, and all filling in the stories. And then you have the ending of day 3 with the theater.
Yep.
Then you have Abby's flashback, Abby's 3 days. All like I believe there's shitload of flashbacks in there too. Okay, and then you have the epilogue or the farm and San Fran. So here's
not San Fran, Los Angeles.
Are you I could have swore San Fran. I got
San Fran, yeah, because Santa Barbara is off of the coast.
Oh, is it?
LA.
Santa Barbara. I think you're.
Yeah, or no, not Santa Barbara. It was Catalina Island. Santa Barbara is where they go to.
Yep. Okay.
And then Santa Barbara.
You were right, Jake.
No, San Fran. You're confused with San Fran because they're making the new Factions game.
Oh, that's right.
San Francisco.
Yep.
And you're the one who told me this information. I just remembered.
True. There we go. ADHD brain. Mine fail it out, and Jake's coming from the dub.
Oh,
all right, but yeah. So then you have the epilogue with the farm, San Fran, and then like the last flashback. Which, if they do replicate that for the ending of that big portion of the show, that needs to be the ending of whatever season they decide to. If they finish on season 3, then that needs to be the ending of season 3, 100%.
I was watching. Somebody already made, or IGN already made a season 2 like prediction video, and they ended it Seattle, or Ellie's Seattle's journey. So like the ending was where her and Abby had that final confrontation in the theater. That's where they end. That's where they had an ending, and I thought that was actually a pretty good place. But I also feel like I could see them just being in Jackson the entire time for season 2.
So here's a couple different ways I think it could play out. I don't know. I honestly haven't thought of a way, and I don't know. Like, good luck, Craig and Neil. Like, a video game is one thing, but making this into a TV show, I do not fucking envy you in the slightest.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that.
So,
before we get into the predictions, let's talk about.
Well, go ahead. What were your question?
Okay, I don't have a question. I just have a point that I would make on this because I feel like Part 1, or Last of Us the game, now being called Part 1, I thought it was made perfect for TV.
Yep, I agree.
Like it was like one of those shows. It's one of those games where like, damn, this should be just a TV show because it's just made perfectly to be a TV show. Now, I will say this about Part 2. It is such a experimental story that I enjoy. A lot of people say there's a lot of pacing issues, and I think there are pacing issues with like the general like gameplay and how long it is. But I will say like I really, really loved the experiment that they did with this game, just because of what it like the emotions it brings out. But when it comes to putting this to TV, I am so curious how they're gonna do it because it's not a clear, obvious like Part 1 where it's like, oh, you just have to copy paste essentially the main key points and you have a solid TV show. Part 2, I'm like, there's so many different avenues they can go because Part 2 is almost 4 games in one. Part 1 really is just one solid game.
It really is. So this is what I'm thinking. Here's a couple different ways they could do it. They could do the chronological route. I don't think they'll do that. I think that's boring, and I think it won't. Like, if they were to do everything, all the flashbacks and everything for one season, they could do that. But I think what is beautiful about Part 2 is the interjuxtaposition of elements of Part 1. So that was one thing I think they could do. The other thing, so they could do flashbacks. And then one season could be this is where I wonder if they maybe would stretch it to 3, but I think that'd be too much, because one season could be the flashbacks for Ellie and Abby. That could maybe work. Might be more satisfying.
I feel like that'd be boring if they did just one season of flashbacks. I agree.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know that it's a flashback if you're watching the show. You would just be like, oh, this is the story.
Well, I'm in the middle of playing the game, and all these flashbacks that they show. So originally my thought was, before playing the game, before jumping into it, when thinking about season 2 and how they would tell the story, this is probably before like the finale even like aired. So me and you both have been thinking about how are they going to do Part 2, because Part 2 is still very much on our mind. But here's my thought process on this after playing Part 2 and playing through some of these flashbacks. These flashbacks they're not really conflict filled. No. And there's a purpose for why it's not conflict filled. So one of the things that Neil Druckmann said in an interview at the end of the finale is it's kind of like a writing exercise to give the audience exactly what they want, but not the way they want it. And Part 2 is exactly that.
It really is, actually, now that you say that.
Because everybody wants Joel and Ellie to be happy. They want them to live their lives and have this happy relationship. And guess what? In Part 2, they give you that. And just not the way you want it.
Yeah, Joel's already dead when you get it.
They fucking kill him off. He's dead. And then they like, hey, here's all the flashbacks of all the good times Joel and Ellie have. And you're like, I wanted this, but it's so sad.
Dude, I like fucking cried. I will say one thing I think will be really special, especially if they decide they have to. I think they can't not adapt any of the story elements of part two. You know what I mean?
They're gonna kill off Joel. I'm sorry.
No, I know that. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying
to.
they can't not do what they did for the story because the museum scene hits it was beautiful. It would have been really cool to see that in a part two if it was just straight Ellie and Joel misadventure. But it's more beautiful with the context of Joel being passed, like her remembering because she's sitting. Because I believe that happens at the end of day one of Seattle. They make it to the theater and she starts playing that song, and it flashes back to her playing to that whole day. And I would be so sad if they chose to not. See, my worry is that if they would cut anything out to make it more narratively cohesive. Because that's the thing that's tough about those flashbacks. Like, if they do the flashbacks... Here... Maybe I should say this. My ideal situation for this show... Because here's what I'm thinking. I would love to get into a discussion about this character, but I don't like Abby. At all. Like, I wouldn't say I hate her, because there is one thing about her character I really do like, and maybe in part 3, if they continue to have her be a character in that game... they could maybe further redeem her for me, is that she does have a redemption story.
A really strong one, too.
Oh, shit. Did I lose you?
Oh, no. Did we lose Michael? We must have lost Michael.
Wait, okay, I lost you there.
You're back.
There we go.
Welcome back. Yay!
I'm back. Woo! Okay, what were you saying, though? You said,
she has a really strong redemption arc. Like, a really, really strong redemption arc. Like, she... goes from this murder. Okay, so let's give some background about Abby for those who haven't played and those who
wait.
Spoilers.
Why are we giving? Okay, I love spoilers. Yeah, you're good. Okay. I was gonna say.
All right, so Abby is basically where we see Abby is she's this I don't know. I actually really like Abby as a character. And I know I am in the minority for this. Most people hate Abby just because what happened with Joel. But I actually really enjoy her as a person. She goes on literally the same path that Ellie does, where she gets revenge filled. But her revenge, even though in the moment where oh, Joel literally just saved her life and everything, and then she kills him then.
Ooh, I just got chills. You just gave me a thought. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, so when you learn about Abby's and her backstory, you realize there's a huge connection. Her dad was the doctor who ran Salt Lake City. Her dad is the surgeon that had the knife. That's why that surgeon is really, really important. The whole knife, and they, linger on that whole point. By the way, they did season 1 without knowing season 2 was going to be a thing, but they set up season 1 in case they do tell season 2.
Okay, nice.
So they made it sure that they could tell a story, and they put all those bits and pieces. So if people ever watch season 1 again, there is a lot of season 2 Easter eggs they put in there on purpose, and we did talk about it a little bit. With one being Dina being the girl there,
yep.
The doctor, the whole talking about the space or Ellie's
farm,
the farm, the sheep farm, the guitar. The guitar is a huge thing. Part 2, there's going to be a lot of guitar playing in season 2, 3, and 4. There's going to be, or at least season 2 and 3, and it's going to be really, really important. But Abby's story, her dad gets killed by Joel. And you get to see her flashbacks in her part of it. When you play her, she does a lot of flashbacks of her and her dad, and it's really similar to Ellie and Joel. So Abby is essentially just Ellie, but Joel's the one who murdered her father.
Yep.
And so when you learn all this information, at this point you already hate Abby. I didn't hate Abby even after killing Joel. I'm I didn't hate her off the bat. I'm probably one of the few people who didn't hate her off the bat. But as I got to know her more, I'm oh. Even though her killing Joel is bad, her getting revenge isn't great. It's not the greatest choice. It's not, I don't agree with it, obviously, especially after what just happened. But her feelings, her emotions, her wanting to kill him and going through with it, like I feel like it is for the most part valid.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're literally cheering Ellie on as she's murdering her way through Seattle, but we're mad at Abby for doing essentially the same thing for very valid reasons.
It's definitely the commentary on the cycle of violence and like hatred.
Yeah.
You sit there and you get wronged, so you wrong another person, and it's like, when does it end?
Which is the whole point of part 2. That's the whole theme, is how hatred and violence and revenge literally destroys you as a person. That's the whole point of this story. It doesn't make anybody who's watching it or playing it feel good at all.
No, it
so
doesn't.
I don't know. So Abby as a character, I really like her as a character. Like I enjoy her, and I'm probably the minority on it.
So anyway. I think, well, two things. I got chills because you said something, and like I've heard this before, but like how do I phrase it? It's almost like I laid out the plot in my mind, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. But like when you said Ellie's, like I've heard people say that, like, yes, like Abby is on like the tail end of that journey. She got her revenge, and it's like, what's the after? And it's like, I just put together that like Ellie's life wouldn't have been so different from Abby's, even if she killed Abby. Like that's narratively, like it kind of like. Not including the actual events. I'm just saying more of like a top-down perspective. So like in Ellie's world, say like you have Ellie go through Seattle, you have all day 3s or whatever. Abby's day 1, 2, 3 would be basically a variation of what would have happened to Ellie to some extent. Maybe not days 2 and 3, but like day 1, she killed, like, yeah, she got her revenge, but she doesn't seem particularly happy. Like she's kind of miserable, and almost to me it seems like as you're playing as her.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't have Owen. She doesn't really have anybody. She's just kind of like... And her friends are distant from her now. Like, Mills kind of doesn't really want to be around her. She isn't very proud of what they did. And I think...
Mel and her always had that conflict anyway, so it didn't...
Yeah. But I definitely don't think... I think for her, Mel, it was really tough to, like, as a doctor, to watch somebody just murder another human being. Like, not just out of self-defense. Like, literal, like, cold-blooded... murder. And I could be wrong, but it also seemed like the other characters, not all of them, but I thought that's my ringtone, sorry.
I was like, is there fireworks going on in your apartment?
No. I thought, well, Owen definitely was pretty choked up by it as well. Like her relationship with Owen became even more strained and distant because of, like, not only because of Mel, but because Owen didn't feel good about it. But anyway,
for those who don't know, Mel, Owen, and then a bunch of other characters, they were part of the journey that Abby took to kill Joel, and those are like her best friends.
So, TBH, I will say, Owen might be one of my favorite characters from The Last of Us. Because he's like, I just feel
he's reasonable.
He's a very, like, he's trying to stay optimistic in the darkest of situations.
Yeah.
And, like, throughout the flashbacks, like, I was pretty... Like, I'm going to be gutted when I get to that point in part 2 again and he dies. Because, like, watching the flashbacks of him just, like, making the... Like, the Ferris wheel scene or whatever with Abby, where they're at the aquarium for the first time, and he's just so, like, childlike. He's just a funny guy. Like, Owen's the kind of guy I would hang out with in real life and be like, dude, I like you, man.
I remember playing Owen, and I'm like, I see myself a lot in Owen because, like, even though I don't think he necessarily agrees with the journey that Abby goes on, he feels like he needs to, she needs to do it. So he's very reasonable. He's a reasonable character. Like, hey, get your revenge, but like let everybody else live. Yeah. They're not part of this.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, he's, I don't know. He just seems like one of those individuals I see a lot of myself in. Or somebody I would, like, appreciate in real life.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, we're getting way off topic here. We're just talking straight up. The Last of Us Part 2, the game. Which we should have an episode on that once you finish it. You know what would be fun, actually, as hell for a podcast idea? After we both beat the game, like, how far are you? You're in Abby day 1. You're in Ellie day 1?
Ellie day 2.
Shit. Okay.
We were, I just met up with Jesse again, and then we went back to the theater. So I think I have the plot up for the game. I'll be going after Nora next, which is good. I'm excited to see that scene.
That scene is going to be fucked in the show, because I felt gross after playing that scene. Yeah. I don't know about you. Also, I just realized. Okay, I have so many thoughts here.
Okay.
You okay? You're leaving the puppy here? Sorry, 1 second. Haley came in. Sorry, folks. The fiance's in. Haley, say hi to the audience. She's waving.
That doesn't help. This is an audio only.
This is audio only, Jake says. She said rude. All right. Anyways, but so for part 2, I think they could go a couple different ways with that. Like, okay, so here's my thoughts on the general outline. If they go chronological, that will be more satisfying as an audience. I do think that. Because they could do it in a way where you get to see Ellie grow up, where she discovers the lie.
I disagree. I don't think they're going to do it at all.
I don't think they're going to do it chronological, but hear me out. Hear me out. As an audience, it would be more satisfying. I don't agree with it. I think the game is great, but I don't know how they'll tell it in the same way. Because in the game, you have... Or if it's like that, imagine being somebody that's never played the game. You're watching the show. You're seeing Ellie grow up, and you're seeing this other girl grow up. Oh, shit. That girl's dad was killed by Joel. So you kind of already start off empathizing with her. Then throughout the season, you see her grow up, and she can't let go of that anger. She's had chances to be happy, and Ellie's kind of going through the inverse, where like she's finding out, realizing something's not right about her relationship with Joel. Like something's not adding up about that whole like the Salt Lake City situation. And then it could very well end with season 2 being Abby's like, yeah, we're gonna go kill Joel, and Ellie, and like having that Ellie and Joel's final confrontation. It'll be leaving it in a very dark fucking place. Or honestly, god damn, I just thought if they did go that route, they could also straight up end with killing Joel.
Yeah,
and like have like as like because imagine it's like in Game of Thrones, like you see that like or in other TV shows, like these characters that are like best buds start disagreeing and butting heads, and then something breaks. And I think they don't show the scene with Abby or with Ellie and Joel reconciling. I think that needs to stay to the end. But then then you could have season 2 or 3. So basically, you'd have season 2 end with Joel dying, and then you could have season 3 be intermeshed Ellie and Abby's days. Because then you as an audience, I think if they did something more like that in the game, I actually think they should have started the game with. I think they should have started The Last of Us Part 2 with Abby's flashback instead of Ellie's flashback. Honestly. Because hear me out, you would be then when they started Jackson and you're playing as Ellie, and you see Abby coming, you're thinking like as the player you'd be like, no, and you wouldn't hate her as much. You'd be like, fuck no, Joel, what did you do? Like you would know something bad's gonna happen to them, but you would also be coming from more of a place of being like, he killed her dad, man. Like if you've lost, like it's like what we talked about before the podcast, like if you've lost a parent. It's hard to reconcile with that. If somebody I for the audience, I lost my father to medical conditions issues, but if somebody killed my dad, and I've known people that have had family members killed, that vengeance and that hatred, it doesn't just disappear. I've seen it destroy families and relationships, and so I that is one thing I've started to appreciate a little bit more about Abby's character is like. Her fucking dad got killed by this guy. Like, it doesn't matter that Joel did it for the quote-unquote right reasons. It doesn't matter if we agree with the surgeon. I forget his name, actually. It's kind of... Oh, Jerry.
Is it Jerry?
I think so. I think it's Jerry Anderson. But that was her dad.
That sounds right.
That was her dad. I don't know. Like, it's fucking tough, man. Like, I don't know. But if they did do chronological, it would have that kind of... I feel like it'd have that kind of Game of Thrones almost feel where you're like... Watch it like you suspect some shit's gonna go down, but you're not 100% sure what it is. And by the time you realize what's gonna happen, you're like, no, and you just want to scream. You just want to jump on the TV and be like, don't kill each other. Okay.
So here's my thoughts on it. I feel like there's many ways they can frame this. I don't think telling chronologically like the flashbacks is the right way to go. I think throw it out. They're not doing it. But here's a couple ways they can frame this, because we talk part 2 is 4 different games, 4 different stories in the one. You have the Jackson scenes. That's the first game. You have Seattle, both Abby's and Ellie's story. That's essentially 2 stories right there. And then you have the whole Santa Barbara storyline, which that's not season 2. That's season 3, maybe season 4. So the way I see them framing this, I see them framing this in two different ways. I see the season 2 being primarily set with Jackson, with them ending with Joel's death. And one of the key points that this video that I did watch with IGN is originally Abby was going to infiltrate Jackson and was actually going to befriend Ellie and Joel in Jackson and then betray Joel.
Damn.
And I didn't know that. And I didn't know that was going to be a thing. So there is a possibility where Abby is part of the Jackson community, and season 2 kind of just tells us the story of Jackson. Which I think pacing-wise, which if they just go season 2 Jackson, slows down the show a lot. And so I don't know if that's the way they're going to go. The way this video, the way they presented Jackson and Ellie's Seattle Day 1. They presented it both back and forth. Like that's going to be season 2, and then season 3 is going to be Abby, Seattle, and then Santa Barbara.
Okay.
So I can see both, but I do. Here's the thing. So let's talk about the big flaw that is part 2.
Well, before we do that, actually, I would love to. Should we just dig into that a little bit more? But I do want to hear your flaw. But I think you just said something. Like as you're saying that, I could kind of see that. Okay, here's my counterpoint though. Okay. How the fuck do you make Jackson a whole season? You really aren't there for that long in part 2. You're there for like an hour and a half.
You're not, but there's a lot of interesting conflict when it comes to her and Joel. Just exploring the dynamics of her and Dina, because her and Dina, like part 2 is also a love story.
It has elements. It's like it is.
It's a heartbreaking love story between her and Dina. And the love triangle of her, Dina, and Jesse, which we could easily go into as well. So I feel like they could spend the time and like slow down. They could slow down a lot and explore all the dynamics between her and Tommy and Joel, Jesse, Dina, Ellie. The whole conflict of her being this gay, lesbian person in a town that may not be accepting. Also, are you good, by the way?
I am. Sorry, I'm just adjusting my fucking mic because it keeps like tipping over. It's driving me up a wall.
Okay. I'm hearing a lot of like noise and a lot of grunts, and I'm like, are you pooping right now?
No, I'm not even grunting. That's probably just the sound of the metal like tightening because I'm like sitting here just like adjusting. Like, stop falling.
Oh, okay.
Okay, sorry.
I'm the only one who can do the Crohn's thing, man. I will not. I will always take a break if I need to go.
Yes. But
so that's the way they could do Jackson, but I just feel like pacing wise, it'd just be such a change of pace because this show is so fast that I assume they're gonna Jackson's gonna be like maybe 2, maybe 3 episodes at most, and they're going to Seattle.
Yeah, I just don't know how they like. Well, because they already said they don't plan on doing anything different from the game. They have no plans of like. That's what Neil Druckmann said. He said something like, "We don't have any plans of like differing from the game's story or like pacing." So that's why I'm like, I don't know how they would do Jackson then.
They'll probably just do it a couple episodes and. That's
maybe I could see it being like 2 episodes for sure. Well, maybe I don't know.
At least two.
I definitely think they have to humanize Abby better. I don't think I think if a game audience was unhappy with it, I definitely think a TV show audience is gonna because here's what I just
is there doubts is there doubts though? I have no doubts they're gonna humanize Abby way more than the games because
I agree. But I'm saying they need to do it. So here's my worry. My big worry is that this is how we'll see the seasons 2 and 3 play out.
Mm-hmm.
Season 1 opens with Jackson, ends with Abby. Day 3. Season 2 opens with Abby, ends with San Fran. That does not sound like
Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara. God damn it, I keep fucking it up. But I just don't see that being a narratively satisfying ending. Because think about that. You basically would have no Ellie for season 3, and that I just don't see HBO or Naughty or any of them being like, yeah, we're gonna have you only in like the last 3 episodes of this season.
Okay, can you talk about the big flaw then?
Okay, yes.
Part 2. All right, so the big flaw about part 2 is the Seattle storyline, and I think this is where the pacing kind of throws you off because this is where you're essentially playing 2 different games. because a big flaw with it is you go through Ellie's whole story, and then it ends in this huge cliffhanger of Abby confronts Ellie, but then you're immediately brought back into Abby's story, and you have to play through the same days as Abby, which I think in the game, it works as far as like gameplay wise. I feel like the experiment of like going into someone else's shoes of somebody you hate and you just spent 3 days hunting, I think is fucking phenomenal. I'm really appreciate the experience. I don't think that works in the show.
Also, boom, you just gave me a crazy fucking thought on what they could maybe, not crazy, but like probably how it would work better. But go first, and I'll say my ideas.
Okay. Yeah, so I might just steal your idea. So if they spent season 2 all on Jackson, I feel like this works this way. Even though I feel like it would slow down Jackson a lot, and I feel like it might not be the greatest idea. But for season 3, I think this would be a really cool story wise. If they spent season 3 all in Seattle, but then throughout the season they tell both the story of Abby and Ellie simultaneously. So we spend half, like each episode we spend half of Ellie, or maybe they flip back and forth where, we spend time with Ellie hunting down Abby, but then at the same time we learn about Abby becoming essentially a better person because she redeems herself a lot by essentially being a hero to these two other players in this whole confrontation of Seattle, because we didn't even talk about like what's happening in Seattle. There's because the Fedra once again gets taken over by a rebellious group called the Washington Liberation Front. Otherwise, they're also known as wolves. That is not what they do in the game at all. But this group is pretty much like any outsiders they kill.
Yep.
But with this group, another group emerged called the Seraphites, also known as Scars, depending on where you go.
Hey, that's a slur, dude.
Scars?
Yeah. It's not actually a slur. From the Seraphites' perspective, it is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it is definitely a slur. It is a racial slur. It's very much in the line of like the Fighting Sioux or like Redskin. It would be a slur in that regard. Yes, I'm calling out sports names.
You better be careful, it would be gonna get canceled.
Man, if I got canceled before I started, is that being canceled?
I don't know, but I'm just throwing it out there.
I don't care. Okay. If I get canceled with this, it means enough people are listening to me to cancel me. Maybe that's my optimism. Anyway, so there's this whole like war going back and forth, and Abby, being on the wolf side of things, sees how the Seraphites see things, and actually ends up betraying the wolves to save two Seraphites or two apostates of the Seraphites. And she just becomes this very heroic character, and like you see her change.
She literally becomes Joel.
I mean, fighting play-wise, she is Joel.
I like that parallel, actually. So, okay, another thought hit me kind of while you're talking there. So I think what I've been struggling to reconcile in my mind, and now that I'm thinking about it, and I think they will go this way. So we could probably, tell me what you think. I think I know what they're going to do now. I don't know 100% how many episodes they're going to spend it, but I think we'll still start off with Jackson. But I think Seattle, I think what catches a lot of people off guard is that they do day 1, 2, and 3. Because, like, narratively, I've been thinking, how the fuck? So you're going to have, like, these huge episodes with Ellie and then these huge episodes with Abby. They're going to hate Abby. Like, it doesn't matter what you do. But I'm like, wait a second. They don't have to do 3 days. They could literally stretch this story out in this world to be over the course of, like, a month or, like, several weeks. That way, like, you can have big narrative stopping points before the theater confrontation. But now the tough part is how do you make it without them running into each other? But I'm saying, like, so, like, I'm trying to figure out where would be a good halfway point of the story if you were looking at Ellie's and Abby's stories simultaneously, especially if they take place over longer periods of time. Because I feel like if you're looking at it as day 1, 2, and 3, so much shit happens in each day. Like, in the one day you have Ellie literally killing, like, 2 or 3 different members of the wolves. Then you have day 2, which is probably the shortest Ellie day, if I recall correctly, because it's her saving Jesse. Then you have, wait, no, because then she kills Nora, and I think that's day 2 too. And then day 3.
There's also flashbacks we're going to be getting that are like the museum flashback might just be a whole happy episode, which is
that's gonna be a bummer.
It's gonna be a bummer, but it's also like, hey, this is exactly what we wanted the entire time. And I actually think I will say this. I do think the museum scene is going to be its own episode.
That's a pretty long
in season 2,
so I could see it.
In season 2, and it's going to be like the happiest episode ever. Because they're like, hey, this is going to be Bill and Frank, but this is going to be Bill and Frank for season 2. I don't think it's gonna be like as good, but it's gonna be like that. Oh, this is what we wanted all along. It's such a happy ending, and then we get the misery of the rest of the season.
Yeah. So I think I could see that, but I also think it'd be interesting if they juxtapose that with Abby's, because that's like the first, minus that prologue, that's like the first big flashback sequence you get, or like first real flashback sequence you get with Ellie, like. So I feel like if they juxtapose that with, I think it would be really cool to juxtapose either the epilogue with Abby's like flashback to the Salt Lake City, or to do it with fuck, I lost my train of thought. Or with the museum scene in that, because there's kind of that father-daughter relationship. I don't know, but one ends in tragedy and one just kind of continues on like normal. Well, normal-ish. But I should actually say one is irreparably changed forever. Both are irreparably changed forever in different ways, actually. That's what I'll say. But anyways.
I'm perplexed. I don't know how they're going to do this.
I don't know either.
Because I don't think there's a clear right answer. But here's the thing. I trust Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin. I feel like they're going to figure this out, and I feel like it's going to be very satisfying. I do think they're going to pull it off.
I do too. I do think they're gonna pull off. I'm just like, good luck, guys. So like, that's gonna be a bitch to write. So here's
I think. Okay, you go.
I would just say the one thing that they do have to do right away is start filming the flashback stuff, because this is gonna sound weird, but for me, it was really impactful seeing an older Ellie and a younger Ellie. So I feel like I almost feel like they have to record all the flashback sequences immediately to start. Like, not like. They can't go if they could go in quote unquote episodic order, but I think that's just gonna be.
Yeah, you mentioned that in the previous pods. I do know Bella Ramsey did say that they're starting production now, or they're going to be starting production this year, and they're going to be filming. She thinks either late 2023 or early 2024. So I imagine that's the first thing they're going to do. Here's the thing: Bella Ramsey's like 19.
Yeah.
So they're already kind of past showing a younger Ellie. She's already kind of grown, which that's the unfortunate part of filmmaking is, like you only get the actors and actresses at the age that they are. You can't really you can make them younger. There is that effect that they can do. But here's the thing: when she was filming Ellie anyway, she was already 16, 17. She's already way past the 14 age mark anyway. Yeah. So I'm not too concerned about it. I think they'll make it work, and they'll probably be using makeup. I doubt they'll use CGI, but with makeup and stuff and her attitude, I think they'll make her a younger version of Ellie.
Yep.
Because there's also just such an attitude change when it comes to young Ellie and old Ellie.
Yeah, she gets dark. Like, I mean, that's kind of the sad thing is like Ellie does kind of lose it. Like, man, God, I need to play part 2 again, because like as I'm talking about it, thinking about it, I'm like, God, that was such a good fucking game. But like she goes through like a dark. She's not even before all the shit happens with Joel. She's not in a good place. Like I think she's just like so angry at she's very angry at Joel and kind of the world. Like she
lost her purpose.
Yeah, she lost her for like she's fucking pissed. Like she's not happy. Like yeah, damn. God, I need to play that game again. So like
it's good.
She's so different from how she was. I think that's what the other thing that was really jarring for a lot of players is like you went from like this peppy, like optimistic young girl to like, I wouldn't say like emo or anything, because like she's not melodramatic, but she's very dark, very like she's very cynical. It almost seems like.
Oh, you're so dark. You should be part of the DC universe.
Yeah.
Deadpool joke.
I don't remember. I have yet to watch the newest one. Because they're only on 2, right? I still haven't seen part. I've only seen the first Deadpool.
Did you see Deadpool 2?
And not yet.
What's wrong? What?
I don't know.
What?
Man. I don't know. Anyways, we'll circle back.
Hold on. No, hold on. No, hold on. What the fuck, man? What?
I don't know. I just haven't gotten around to it. I'll get to it one of these days. I'll just be super bored and be like, yeah, all right, I'll watch some Deadpool and probably laugh, have a chuckle.
It's worthy of watching. All right, anyway, I just pulled up. Bella Ramsey is 19.
Yep.
So
they're going to have that issue with, like, those flashback scenes. But I do think they probably will do makeup, and they might say, yeah, it's been like a year. I mean, yeah, they could do... I guess she'd probably be more like 15 or 16 when that flashback takes place anyways, so...
Yeah. So a little point of, so Neil Druckmann actually released an image, teasing season 2, and it is Abby's giant forearm holding a hammer. I think it's like a famous part 2 poster that they had.
But what a troll! What a troll, man!
So I want to know who they're gonna cast as Abby, because Abby, how do I explain her? She's just like a physically dominant like individual, but not in a sense of like she's manly. Like
the girl has never missed a day at the gym. She could kick my ass for sure.
She could kick my ass, and I'm like, I'm not that great, like the most fit person now, but like I would say like I would hold my own in a fight, and she'd still kick my ass.
Yeah, I wonder how they'll do that. Like, to me,
like
I just like I'm not saying because like I think a lot of people are like, oh, women don't look like that, and I'm like, no, they do, but I do feel like her design was a little off. I don't think it's that I've never seen a buff woman. I have, but like I'd have to play it again. But I remember thinking like her design was just a little off, like physical. Like I don't know how to explain it. Maybe
well, she's essentially physically as dominant as Joel. She plays the same as Joel in the game. Whereas like when you play Ellie, I will say gameplay for part 2 is so much better than part 1.
Oh fuck yeah,
like,
it is, dude.
Like going around killing people, like you have a lot more options. You can just run around. Like you don't have to play it one way. But I will say you can, like as you play as Ellie, you can't just physically dominate everybody. Like if you get caught and you're like if 4 or 5 people are jumping at you, you're dead. Like you're just done. Whereas like when you play as Joel and you have like 4 or 5 people jumping at you, oh, you have a chance because Joel's just gonna beat the shit out of them. Abby is essentially that same way. If you have 4 or 5 people jumping at you, she just physically, if you have just your bare fist or if you have like a weapon, yeah, she's murdering everybody in that room. Like she's physically as dominant as Joel is, and it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I feel like it challenges your sexist views almost. Like, did a woman do this? Like I find myself questioning it, but then I'm like, you know what? No, I believe this character can do this because, like, she is just like that. I don't know how to explain it. She's, like, in the game, she's believable.
You know, I remember, I could be wrong, but, like, I don't know about you, but one thing I love doing with that game franchise, I started doing it with part 1 when I got that remastered on my PS5, and then I did it when I played part 2 for the first time. But there's so many little details. Like I always, even if it has no like items for me to scavenge, and I'm leading up to a point here, but like I always look at all the details in the game, like because they have so much like small intimate stuff. Like Abby's room, I remember, is so fucking like interesting because you have like she has like her exercise equipment there, right? But then she also has like textbooks, I believe. I think there's like philosophy and like biology textbooks on her bed. If you go look. Like, she's a smart fucking person. She's not stupid. Like,
no, not at all.
She's very educated. Like, for where they're at in the society, like, she's a very intelligent, like, educated person.
All right, I'm gonna make the comparison to what Abby is. So, like, if the audience don't know who Abby is and haven't played this game, if you've played Game of Thrones, Abby is essentially Brienne of Tarth.
I fucking knew you were gonna say that as soon as you said Game of Thrones. I was like, fucking Brienne of Tarth. Yeah, she kind of is. Like, you like her. but she has like you. I think I'm pretty sure in the show you don't
Oh, I don't.
start off liking.
I'm not even.
Brienne.
I'm not even. I'm not even like. I'm not even saying personality wise. I'm just saying physical characteristics.
Oh, like stature. Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean personality wise, they're similar, but I'm in like physical stature. That's who I think of like Abby is Brienne of Tarth. You know, like in the show, we don't, or like Captain Phasma too, same stature. Like she's a female who is physically imposing, but also still very feminine. Like
I don't
I feel
recall
like
seeing her be very feminine, but like
well,
that doesn't
not
mean it didn't happen.
but not feminine like the way we imagine it. But she's still like very much a female. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
I
think
feel like I'm not explaining myself very very well, but like she's definitely a character that like I admire, and is somebody who like in real life I'm like I would befriend that person. And that's how I feel with like Abby. Even though like if I'm on like the Ellie side of things, I probably would hate her. But if I was on the Abby side of things, she's somebody I think like for the most part I would enjoy.
Okay. Okay. So I could see, man. So I definitely think they're gonna be stuck. I just don't know how many seasons they're gonna make season 2 or part 2. It has to be 2, but I don't know if they could do 3. But at the same time, I don't know how they would do 2.
I feel like if they would do 3, season 4 would be Santa Barbara.
But
And
how
they
do
would
you
just
make that a whole season? Sorry, I'm not like. I just don't know how you make that a whole season. That's my query there.
I don't know how they would have to elongate it. Here's the thing: we both said that season 1 could have been elongated to longer if we wanted to. We could have spent so much more time in Boston, so much more time in Kansas City, so much more time in Jackson. We could have spent a lot more time with them. There is room for them to expand. However,
That's true.
pacing wise compared to season 1, compared to like if they were to do that, it would be very off putting. But I don't know. I just trust that they would do it at this moment. I trust that they can figure it out.
I just don't
I
want
really
them to
do.
elongate to the detriment of the story because I do feel like the Santa Barbara segment is so beautiful, but I feel like if it was its own season, it wouldn't be as impactful
I
for
agree.
me.
I agree. I think they're going to make it 2 seasons. I do.
I definitely think
And
they could start season if they so like I think well I'm just trying to think so you're like this is what I was trying to ask before maybe you can help me figure this out so like narratively like say they do decide to expand those instead of doing 3 days it's like 3 weeks or a week or whatever. I'm just trying to place where everything happens. Like, what could you make the season finale for season 2? I did just think of one thing that would be really fucking cool, but I want to hear your thoughts.
So I don't know if I like the fact that I watched the season 2 prediction video because I actually really like where they put it. They put it like the finale, the cliffhanger, where they just tell Ellie's Seattle story, and the cliffhanger is Abby killing Jesse, holding Tommy hostage, and then that their confrontation is that cliffhanger. And I do think that's a good spot for them to end season 2 because I think that would give intrigued for season 3. And I also think if they were to put season 3 and have Abby be the main character, with that much of a break in between season 2 and season 3, I do think it would work. I don't know if it's exactly what we want, but I do think it would work because we would get to Ellie at the later half of that season with them ending season 2 or ending season 3 with Santa Barbara, which would also give time for part 3 to come out as a video game before they can dive into part 3 of the game in the show.
Okay, hear me out. I just thought about it, and we'll see how it all
Okay.
plays out. But so I'm gonna say, I hope they don't do it that way. I don't want to be a dick with it because I just straight up don't think they're gonna be able to get people to give a fuck about Abby if they go that route. I personally like. I just don't think people would like. Imagine like you don't know anything about her. You're like, this isn't Last of Us. It's a completely different show, and you start this whole season. You're hating her, like you hate her or dislike her. And then they end the season, and you start the third season, and spend almost the entirety of the third season with that character. Yeah, you like might like. I'm just saying, as a viewer, I'd be like, "Fuck that! I don't want to watch this." Like, yeah, maybe they just like I don't know. Like that's my worry. I think they have to change up the structure. I don't think the narrative of the game will translate well to a TV show in the way it is now. Now, hear me out. If they do the opposite way, where they do decide to intermesh their stories at the same time, I think that has a lot more dramatic payoff. It allows viewer. It's like Game of Thrones. Like everybody fucking hated Jamie at first, but over time, the little bastard starts to worm his way into your heart, and you start to like him, and then he gets his hand cut off, and you're like, no. But that only works because you have time with him. If it started off like one of the seasons with Jamie, you'd be like, I don't like this fucking guy. I'll just skip to the next episode.
I feel like it depends on their goal.
So
I think it depends on what they're trying to do. The video game, their goal was to make you hate Abby and then try to change your mind afterwards. I truly believe that was their goal. And I think it worked for some individuals. It worked for me. I appreciate the experience. I appreciate the emotions they made me feel. Not a lot of people are like that, though. I don't disagree with you. I do think it would be better if they meshed it together, but I do think if they were to go that route and they want people to, if they specifically had that purpose of telling Ellie's story first and then telling Abby's, I do think this would work better than the game with that break in between. I do believe that. I don't know if it's the best route, but I do think it really depends on what they're trying to do.
To that is, I feel like the game's entire point was understanding that you can't just make somebody the other. Like, even bad people have loved ones. Even people that have wronged you have people that care about them that don't give a fuck about you. They don't care if they wronged you. They are those people's family. And I feel
kill an NPC in part 2, they'll scream the name of their loved one. Like, no, Carl, no!
I feel so terrible when they cry about the dog. They're like, Spot, no!
Oh, yeah. Sapphire is watching me play part 2, and every time she's like, kill the dog, and then it'll be, and she's like, oh, no. I'm like, I feel bad, but at the same time, like, this dog's about to kill me, so.
I don't really have a choice. So my counterpoint would be that they can achieve that better by showing the intermission. I do think in some ways that's what the game should have done. The game, I feel like the game does it too jarringly. It has a lot of influence from, and I think jarring. It was very bold, but I think it would have paid off better in the opposite route. I think it would have been better if they marketed the game as The Last of Us. Here's what I think they should have done. Honestly, like I'm glad I'm not a writer, and like obviously I still like the game, so I'm not going to hate on it. But I honestly think it would have been better if they started part 2 with Abby's story, then moved to Ellie's story. Because you as a player, like imagine if you started, you didn't know about the Joel shit, and you go through the whole game, you're dealing with all the Seattle stuff, and then boom, you find out I killed Joel, and you would feel like so conflicted as a player. And then you see Abby's story, or you see Ellie's, you'd be like, fuck, like I liked her, I don't want to kill her, like. I think that would have almost been more of a shock in a good way for players. I don't know. That's my opinion. That's why I think you have to go one of the two ways. I don't think you can go, like, to me, I don't know. Because, like, imagine that shock. You didn't know. You just know some shit happened someplace else, and yeah.
I don't know. I felt that way. It was just the way they told the story because, you know, you become Abby and then you have to kill Ellie. Or your whole goal is to kill Ellie in her part of the story. Like, that's the big confrontation. Like, oh yeah, I'm ready for this confrontation. I'm ready for it. But let's go fucking kill Abby. And it's like, oh wait, nope, you're Abby. You're trying to kill Ellie. And you're like, no, I don't want to do this. And it's like, we give you exactly what you wanted. Just not the way you wanted it.
So I think... So here's what I think. So I think if they do intermesh, here's where they could end season 2. I just thought about it while we were talking. Mm-hmm. So I think you could have seasons 2 open with Jackson, Joel's death, and then obviously you would hate Abby as it's kind of like the new House of the Dragons show. Like who the fuck likes Alicent? Like she's kind of like she has her pros, but like you don't like her. But like over time, like towards like we just finished it. Spoilers for our House of the Dragon. Skip ahead like a minute here. We're spoiling the shit out of HBO shows.
I was not expecting a House of Dragons reference here.
You've seen it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a few months. Alicent's the friend opposite of
Rhaenyra.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yep. So the redhead, but like I didn't like her, but I did like her a lot. In the last, god damn, was it like the second last episode where she was trying to save Rhaenyra's life? Like, she's like, I don't agree with this decision. Like, and like she was perfect. Like they actually like it got to the point where I was like, Allison, why are you doing this? Just let like he's a delirious old man. Even if he wanted Aegon to be king, like obviously we all as the viewers know that's not what he meant. But like you should have just been like, nah. And it would have been more intriguing for it just to be like her being on the upside side of Rhaenyra by circumstance rather than by choice. But anyways, But that even made me kind of be like, all right, you're not the worst character ever. You are trying to save your friend's life, even though I think you're an idiot that caused all this in the first place. But I think if they do that with season 2, they have Ellie and Abby juxtaposed. You kind of see their stories, and they elongate the time so it's not that frantic, like day 1, day 2, day 3. Then they could split out. They could separate the events because you could have like an episode where it's like a couple days of Abby trying to find Owen after he went AWOL, and then it's Ellie trying to go through all the wolves, and then she's finding a couple of the guys. So then you could end up ending the way you could have it kind of time out is that the show season 2 would end with the Rat King fight, and with Ellie killing Nora. Yep.
Ooh,
and have that because can you imagine that you're watching like that a juxtaposition too of like you have Abby fighting her fucking hardest to save this little girl's life. And then on the other side, you have Ellie, who's going darker and darker and darker. You're like, it's like the peak of their, like, it's like the peak as like a story. It's the peak of Abby's heroism, or one of the. I wouldn't say it's the peak of it, but it's like it's getting there for her. Juxtaposed with the one of the darkest things Ellie's ever done, and like ending it there, and then that way you could open season 1 with like the last bit of Seattle. So Ellie realizing that Tommy might be in town, trying to go find him, and then choosing to go off, and then you could have like a few episodes into season 3.
I'm excited for Tommy in season 2, season 3.
Gabriel Luna, man, he deserves some fucking chance to shine. And then at the same time, then you could have like the ramping up of the Civil War between the Scars and the Wolves. And then that could be like the halfway point of season 5 is Ellie and Abby's confrontation. Then you could have like, I'm just imagining it'd be like another 9-episode season. Then you could have like an episode of The Farm. And then you could have like 2 episodes of Santa Barbara. I don't know.
I could see it.
I'm going like way deep into this. This is just a random prediction. I could just see that being a very narratively satisfying way they could do it. And then that way you have more time with Abby, and then you don't want them. You're like, no, fuck. Like, I know that like you have your blood, but you just wanted to let it go.
Yeah. So I wouldn't mind that. But I'm just gonna say this, and I'm gonna say it again. I think whatever they do, they're gonna knock it out of the park.
I agree.
I just think Craig Mazin just has such an act for TV, and Neil Druckmann it's his story.
Yeah.
And I think the way what they showed us in part 1 or season 1, it showed us that they can make a great adaptation. So and like what they add into it, added overall to the story wise, to the lore, like everything they added extra to the story that wasn't just beat by beat in the game, just made the lore of the show, lore of the game, lore of The Last of Us better.
I agree.
And like the biggest criticism for part 1 or for season 1 was it was too quick and there wasn't enough.
That's true. There really was. People were like, "What the fuck? That's it? How do you like 3 episodes?"
Like that was the criticism. Like it wasn't they did it badly. It was it was too short. Like they didn't do great enough times. And so through all his predictions, I'm like, you know what? Whatever they fucking do, however they go about it, they're gonna knock it out of the park. That's how I just feel about it. So all right, so let's wrap this up because I feel like there's not much more predictions that we can go into.
Yep. Thank you for letting me rant, by the way.
Oh, for sure. Okay, so I think I only have one question. Are we ready for Joel to be dead? Are we ready for Pedro to like be gone and not be the main of this series?
I don't think I was ready for it, and I don't think I'll be ready for it again. But he has such a strong post-mortem presence. I don't think he'll be missed. Like he's still going to be there. It just won't be in the way we want him to be. Like we're still going to get the museum scene. We're still going to get the breakdown of his and Ellie's relationship, and we might even honestly get a few more good moments between them too. And then we have.
I think he's going to be in part of 3 too.
Yeah. I think he'll have
I think,
maybe not. I think he'll definitely be diminished because I think part 2 was a lot of that reconciling.
mm-hmm.
But I definitely think we'll probably get at least one more flashback or maybe a dream sequence or something like that. Like, I definitely think that part 3, without going too into it, will be more of like Ellie, like just straight up Ellie's story. Like I think part 2 is really a passing of the torch. So I still think we'll have a strong Joel presence that will
Yep.
slowly fade throughout.
This is going to be Bella Ramsey's show,
Yeah, it really is.
and she's killing it. She killed it in season 1, and I believe she's going to continue to kill it.
I agree. They definitely. I do feel like because with the show, it was more of Ellie and Abby or Ellie and Joel's show, which is good. That's how it needs to be before it can be just Ellie's show.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't realize this. Did you know that Matthew McConaughey was the first person offered Joel?
I didn't, but that would have been awesome too, and I could see him just totally killing it.
You
But
know the
I
second
love
person?
Oh, who?
Marshall Ali.
I'm glad it wasn't him though. I just don't see like I love Marshall Ali. He's a fucking incredible actor. It's not a race thing.
Yeah.
I just don't see him. I guess I just haven't seen him ever exude that like carefree energy that Joel does need to have at some point.
Yeah.
Yes, he's a very dark character, but he's very. Oh, I guess he kind of, if I remember correctly, he kind of does have that vibe a little bit in Moonlight. But that's such a short bit.
I think he would have pulled it off. I think there would have been that huge controversy that it's a different race and whatnot, and it's not. It doesn't look like Joel. I think he would have killed it personality wise. I think he would have definitely killed it. But I will say I think Pedro Pascal definitely passes more as Joel.
I agree.
But I think Matthew McConaughey would have. I think he would have almost nailed it, Joel, perfectly.
After watching True Detective, I'm just still amazed by how incredible Matthew McConaughey is as an actor.
But I do enjoy Pedro Pascal's performance. I think if I had to say which one I preferred more, Troy Baker or Pedro Pascal, I think Troy Baker voice wise just pulls off that presence a little bit more, whereas Pedro he doesn't have the voice acting down for Joel, but he definitely, when it comes to on-screen emotion, he pulls it off so well. Like Pedro Pascal, the way he just pulls off like those emotional moments between him and Ellie, or when he breaks down and he's vulnerable, he shows it in such a minimalist way that it's just fucking impressive. So I big props to Pedro Pascal, big props to his live screen Joel, and I don't think I'm ready for him to pass in season 2.
I don't think I am too, but I do think he still has strong enough presence as a character into the flashbacks that he'll always be there. And maybe we'll see more like metaphorical symbolism of him, like occasionally like showing up to like I could see some like hallucinations or like
Obi-Wan ghost
ish of sorts, but like it's just like a fake thing.
Some Han Solo and Rise of the Skywalker just randomly shows up to talk to Ellie and just like, hey, I'm going to give you a motivational speech. Now you're better, right?
Yep, you're good. Oh man.
I hope they don't go that cliche.
I hope they don't go that cliche. I don't think they will. So.
All right.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I don't think I have any other questions or anything else to bring up. All I want to do right now is just play part 2, but I'm trying to like play it with Sapphire. She fell asleep during the spaceship scene, and I was mad.
She fell asleep during that?
She keeps falling asleep during like the big emotional parts. I'm like, wake up. Like when we were playing part 1 and during I told you this, the hotel scene or the hotel boiler room scene where I'm just dying back and forth, and it's like the most excruciating like part of the game where like I feel like the most dread. She was asleep during that whole entire part, and I'm like, wake the fuck up. Experience my suffering with me. This is like one of the most memorable parts of the game for me because it sucked so much. The thing is though, I lost my save and we did it again, but I beat it the first time through because I like figured out the best strategy. So she didn't even get this. She got to see the scene, but she didn't get to see me suffer through it.
Oh man. But yeah, I do. Yeah. I can't wait to see like after we beat the games. I definitely think we could have a part 2 discussion. Like really go into it because like as you were saying stuff, it was hitting me like waves. I was like, oh shit, yeah, that was really cool too. So
There's so much in part 2, so much to talk about that we didn't even discuss on this pod. Yeah, we still gotta figure out what we're gonna do next too. Like what shows, what we're gonna revisit. So we'll talk about it. But yeah, we'll talk we'll talk off the pod about our plans.
Indeed. Well, guys, thanks for listening. I'm guessing Jake's gonna send us off, but I'll say my little bit here. Yeah, feel free subscribe to Don't Evolve Me today. Give us a listen on Spotify or Jake, where else have we got this bad boy plug?
We got Apple, Amazon, Samsung, iHeartRadio, pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts.
Yeah, check us out. It's awesome. Jake's got plenty more episodes. Some of yours featuring yours truly. And yeah, it's good stuff. And feel free to check us out on the socials. I'll let Jake drop those next. Thanks for checking out Don't Evolve Me. Jake, it's your show. Plug them socials, boy.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, you can check us out at Facebook, Don't Evolve Me. Also at Twitter, same Don't Evolve Me. Instagram at Don't Evolve Me. Or you can send us an angry email. I don't think I've gotten any angry emails yet. You could be the first at don'tevolveme@gmail.com. So, and then we got a couple special episodes coming up next. Next week, March 28th, I have an interview with local Minnesota artist Brandon John. We're discussing his Nut 2, his new comic that is coming out on April 5th. And then, of course, you have Last of Us Season 2 prediction, which is this podcast. And then we're still doing weekly Mandalorian reviews with Don Johnson. So please check those out. And yeah, we definitely have some more weekly episodes. I have another one coming out in April with Emily Johnson talking about Minnesota neurodivergence. And we're also talking Last of Us in that pod. I gave her choices of topics, and she's like, horror gaming / Last of Us. I'm like, you just said Last of Us, I'm in.
We really love The Last of Us here, guys. It's it's pretty incredible.
I really do. I don't even have money at all, but I'm like looking for like Pop Funkos for Last of Us because I'm like, you guys just need to be here because like you're a big part of the show.
I'm literally looking up if they have Joel Pop Funkos right now. I don't.
They have it. There was a clicker for like $55.
Holy fuck! It's like a $200 Funko Pop. Jesus.
He's looking it up now. Woo! I was looking up some Pedro Pascal Mandalorian ones. Those are a lot cheaper, so I'll probably have to invest in that first. All the way for the TV show versions of Last of Us to come out.
That's wild.
Anyway. All right. Anyway, that's it. That's our show. Thank you for checking us out. This is your host, Jake Sherbing, guest Michael Schumer.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
Thanks for listening to Don't Evolve Me. Out.
Peace out, guys.